Happy Hump Day, everybody. Thank you for your patience. I'm having some technical difficulty. Please be sure that you're hanging there with me tonight. But in any event, good evening and welcome to Celebrity Court, the only show where power meets the law and the scales of justice tip in ways that will leave you shocked. I'm your host and Judge Al Reynolds, and tonight's docket is loaded with the kind of cases that make you question everything you thought you knew about fairness, influence, and accountability. Let's start with Ahmaud Arbery's prosecutor finally facing trial, exposing police corruption at its deepest level. Officers let his killers walk free. Yes, right. Then Donald Trump is getting hit from two sides. One lawsuit over his transgender military ban, and another over his Federal Worker Buyout, which critics say is a politically motivated purge. And while we're talking about power plays, Capital One is being accused of scamming customers of billions. Yes, you heard me correctly. Billions of dollars with deceptive fees, proving yet again that banks are experts in what? Robbing you and robbing you legally. But we're going to break that down tonight. But that's not even the wildest case of the night, everybody. Yep, if you can't trust a bank, who can you trust? Because lawmakers have introduced a bizarre new erection, yes, you heard me correct, erection ban law that critics say criminalize natural body functions. Well, damn, we can't even get hard anymore. And finally, ASAP Rocky is in the fight for his life, accused of firing a gun at a former associate with witness testimony stacking up against him. So the question I need y'all to think about tonight is justice really blind? Or is it just looking the other way when it comes to the powerful? Let's get into it. But before we get started, let me introduce our Legal Beagle panel. Joining us tonight, yep, you know it, civil fiery attorney Shatan Turner. Welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm glad to be back. I can't wait to hear about those bodily fluids that are now illegal.
Also joining her will be humorist at law, Sean Carter, but not that Sean Carter, this Sean Carter. Welcome back to Celebrity Court.
How you doing, Your Honor? I'm glad to be here. By the way, just so we clear, because of the new law in Mississippi, I got both hands above the table. All right, both hands above the table.
Show both hands, please. Show both hands. And last but not least, the author of Shit They Didn't Teach Me in Law School, attorney Jason Weiss. Welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Thank you so much. And yeah, we have our hands full tonight.
Let me see your hands, sir. All right, everybody, before we get started, please hit that like button. Also, please hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, be sure to hit that share button. Invite some friends over to listen to all of this good ridiculousness as we teach you the law. Also, turn on your notifications. And last but not least, jump down in the comments because you know we love to hear what you have to say as we cover each story. All right, first up, and this is really just heart-wrenching for me. The murder of Ahmaud Arbery sparked national outrage, but what's even more disturbing is the prosecutor allegedly covered for his killers. Yes, you heard me correctly, covered for his killers. Former Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson is on trial for obstruction of justice, accused of delaying the arrest of Gregory and Travis McMichael, the men who chased down and killed Arbery. And get this, police officers at the scene reportedly told the McMichaels they'll be going home that night, despite overwhelming evidence that this was a modern-day lynching. So if a DA can help killers avoid arrest, what does that say about our justice system? I'm going to throw this to you, Attorney Sean Carter. How do prosecutors actually get away with misconduct like this for so long?
See, when this is the thing, this case is actually a landmark case and might be really, really important for those of us who care about this issue. Traditionally, prosecutors have prosecutorial discretion. You've heard the term, right? And generally means that prosecutors get to decide which cases to bring and which ones to not bring. And normally we kind of enjoy the idea of a prosecutor who uses discretion to not bring charges, to not charge everything you possibly can, right? To not throw everybody in jail. Here, though, when we see it too oftentimes in police matters, where they go the opposite, they go too far in leniency for police officers. In this case, she knew the guy personally. They used to work together. And so he calls her from the scene, says, what happened? gives his version of it, of course. And she, oh, you good? I'm gonna tell the cops to back up off you. And sadly, they probably would never have faced justice at all, except for the fact that the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, the GBI, everybody, scared of the FBI, but the GBI is really where it is, apparently. They go through and say no. And so they do a completely independent investigation, find the three guys eventually found guilty, and then she's brought up on these charges. By the way, these charges were filed in 2002 and 22. So it took a long time, right, to get to trial on this. She's facing 2 charges. One's a felony that could give her up to 5 years. We obviously hope she does get to 5 years to teach the other prosecutors not to do this, right? But probably not, because fortunately, the guys were convicted anyway, right? So the harm done here wasn't as bad as it could have been, where you just let these killer cops off.
Let me tell you something, though. I remember this. Luckily, this is a time that we're glad to have social media. Remember, it was that member who was in that Facebook group for this community that ended up filming this entire situation and put it on social media, and it went viral. That's how she got caught, right? That's how she got caught. Good thing for social media as it relates to this.
Actually, I think one of the killers actually was the one who recorded it, and it got out through he posted it, which I'm sure they're fighting about in jail tonight. But yeah, you're right. If it wasn't for the social media outrage, sadly, he probably would.
All of them would have been walking. But let me ask you this: should the officers, Attorney Jason Weiss, should the officers who let the Michaels walk also be charged? I think they should be charged, because they knew that he had committed that crime, but they let him walk anyway. I think they should be charged as well, or at least at minimum fired.
100%. Look, whoever was involved in this tragic, disgusting act should definitely suffer consequences, right? The 3 officers that did this, or the 3 individuals that did this, they're all in jail. Great. Jackie Johnson, she's now being prosecuted for prosecutorial misconduct. That shows that nobody is above the law, and I don't care who you know or who your friends or who's whatever, you need to be held responsible for your actions. She abused her power. And look, a great line from the Spider-Man movie: with great power comes great responsibility. Well, she has a responsibility to everybody in her jurisdiction. And that's what she should have been doing. And she should have been taking care of everybody, not just people she grew up with and that look like her.
So tell me this: how can people say that racism doesn't exist?
They can't,
in
right?
2025.
And it's I think, look, it's favoritism that exists, right? That's what I honestly think. If look, I know you a long time, right? So you're one of my favorite people. That's the way it goes. So I'm gonna have a soft place in my heart, no matter what everybody says. You're Al to me. That's always how it is. But if I meet somebody new, it doesn't matter race, religion, sexual orientation, who cares? I'm still going to favor you, right? If I have an extra ticket to a game, I'm saying, Al, come with me.
Right.
And that's
how this is different. This is different. Like, I understand that we're friends and I favor you as well. But Jason, if I saw or knew that you killed somebody, and I am a justice of the court.
Unless you're my lawyer, you would have to go ahead and tell people, and I would expect you to. That's why I won't tell you if I kill anybody.
Especially if I'm the justice of the court. Like, she's the attorney general.
She is
district attorney. She's an agent of the court,
and the highest one.
People are people, right? And so I think that Jason's point is a good one. Even lawyers are human. That's a myth out there that sometimes we're not, but we are human. And so we have to remember that this isn't just someone she grew up with. This is someone she grew up with whom she also worked, and she trusted him. And so she was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and went too far. But I can see how this happens, because to Jason's point, if you have a soft place in your heart for someone, you're not going to, it'll be easy. Like, you still have to do it. You still have to do it by the book. Otherwise, you end up in the position that she is. But the human inclination is to look out for people that you grew up with, look out for people well, that's my boy. Like, he wouldn't do it. And he calls him from the scene. He gives her a story. The person who should really be checked in the morality police, like, she gets hers from a legal perspective, but from a morality perspective, he pimped his friendship, right? He knew what he had done. He knew he was wrong. He took advantage of the relationship and the trust she had in him for his own gain.
Throw them both underneath the jail. Let me ask you this, Attorney Carter. SL said, can her law license be suspended?
Yes, but normally what the bar will do is it'll wait for the criminal trial. It doesn't want to have its own trial on this. So it'll just say, okay, if you get convicted of this, particularly of a felony, and in Georgia, they don't play.
It's
so
gone.
Some of the jurisdictions, they'll let you come back in a couple of years. Georgia, if you get a speeding ticket, you gone. And so she's going to lose her law license.
Covering up the death of a black man, she needs to be gone. Sorry.
She will be gone. She will. There's no doubt. And look, and like Shaitan was saying, look, if I get a phone call and I have an attorney who I've worked with numerous times on a case, and they're like, hey, can we work a deal on this one? Sure. You know what? You've done good by me in the past. You want a slightly lower settlement. Look, we could do it. That's all fine. You need extra time. No problem. But this is, hey, I'm on the side of the road. I just killed somebody. Can you look the other way? No. The only thing that we could possibly do is arrange for your surrender and maybe keep it hush-hush, but you're going to jail.
Right. Well, let's be clear, because Judge, you did mention the idea of racism, and here's where I think it does come into play. It comes into play in the idea of how believable the story is.
Okay.
If she had said, hey, there's a little white, if McMichaels had called the prosecutor and said, hey, there was a little white kid walking down the street and I shot him in this context, they would have been like, you can't do that. But in this context, it's a black thief. And as he describes it, she's more likely to believe that. That's where racism comes into play. She's more likely to believe that the guy is up to something.
Right.
His story makes sense because of bias and prejudice.
Let's look at that picture one more time, and I'm going to show you bias and prejudice. Bailiff, what in the world? She and all three of them look like they need to go to jail.
And she's probably going to get some jail time. I'm going to guess that's what she's going to get. She's going to lose. Her bar license is gone. Her job is gone. Yeah.
Sylvia Flower says, I hope she gets some prison time. She was part of the hiding and the unaliving someone. I agree. All right. Speaking of people doing crazy things, Trump faces lawsuit over transgender military ban. Donald Trump's 2017 transgender military ban sparked national protests. And now, guess what? He's being sued for discrimination. A group of transgender service members claimed the ban wrongfully terminated their careers and stripped them of their financial benefits. So let's be clear. Was this about military readiness, or was this a targeted attack on the LGBTQ plus rights? I'm going to go to you again, Attorney Carter, because I'm interested. Is this 14th Amendment violation, or is this a violation of LGBTQ rights? And what are the legal grounds for challenging a military police like this?
Right. So what happens is that this is obviously, let's be clear, right up front. The first question you asked, this is obviously transphobia. All right. There is not an issue here, but he did try to couch it in military readiness. He said that basically, if you get diagnosed with what is it called when gender dysmorphia, right? Or gender dysphoria, where you have a confusion about gender. We're going to say that that's a mental defect, like it would be schizophrenia or anything like that. We think you're going to sell the planes to Russia. We're not going to allow you to do it. And he tried to couch it like that. This, by the way, happened before. In 2017, Trump tried the same ban. And what happens is the court struck it down immediately. And for everyone who's out there concerned about all this stuff going on, these executive orders, please understand that the reason Shakespeare said kill all the lawyers first is because the lawyers are actually going to be able to protect this. Everything we're starting to see, we're going to talk about the next case. We're not going to talk about the case today where Trump had to back off of the federal spending. No more federal spending. And guess what it said? The courts and lawyers solved that. This is another issue where the lawyers will get involved, and they're going to make an equal protection. They've already filed the lawsuit. to make an equal protection claim to say, hey, this is a violation of equal protection rights on the basis of gender. You can't say that trans men and trans women can't do something that cis men and cis women can do. And so therefore, and he got good basis for it. There's a 2020 case that basically said you can't have employment discrimination with regard to trans individuals. And that case was decided 6-3. Now that's important because we lost Baby Ruth since then. And she was replaced by Amy Coleman Barrett. Or Amy Barrett Cohen. Anyway, ABC, CBT, DVD, whatever. All right, the little white girl. But the point the point is this, though. Even if without that vote, we still have 5-4. And so it's very likely if the case goes back for the Supreme Court, this ban will be overturned. You would have to have a military readiness reason, and we don't have any evidence that this has happened. And remember, Biden overturned that ban. In the 4 years from 2000 to 2004, there weren't any incidents that showed that trans soldiers were any less reliable, all right, than cis soldiers. And as a result, they have a very strong footing here. It's very likely that, like 1,000 other executive orders, this one's going to be thrown away.
Attorney Turner, what is going on here with the law? What is going on here with the law and the powers of the president?
Here's what I think the overarching message is from these executive orders on this topic. He wants to throw as much at the wall and to see what sticks. So the goal with them is to communicate to America, it is a new day. You woke people, thought you had accomplished some things and made some headway under that old foolish guy who was your president, Joe Biden. This is Trump's, I'm being him, not me. And on my day one, I'm going to let you know that I beat him fair and square this time, like I beat him last time. But because I really beat him this time, I'm going to rub his nose in every advancement that he tried to make for people and to let everybody know it, right?
Do you think that's what it is? Do you really think that's what it is? I see, for some reason, I think it's deeper than that. I think his hate is deeper than that. I think he's doing these executive orders, in my opinion, to let the trans community know, to let the LGBTQ community know, to let the African American community know, to let the Spanish American or Latino American community know that this administration, you are not protected. This administration, you are not a priority. This administration, we're not going to be sensitive to any of your needs. That's now, what I feel like.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. But do you think that message is meant for us, or do you think it's meant for his base? I don't think he's talking that.
I think it's meant for his base, but it's meant for everybody. I think it's meant for everybody. I've been watching. I don't know if you guys have been watching the news on the deportation. It's the saddest thing you've ever seen in your life. It's the saddest thing you've ever seen. And what is the statistic? 23% of Spanish Americans, or not Spanish, Latinos voted for this man, and he's deporting their families like they mean nothing to him. I'm not getting it.
So here's what I think happened, and shame on somebody, right? I know who I would wag the finger at, but I'll save judgment. People in marginalized communities who were like Blacks for Trump, Latinos for Trump, women for Trump, right? They dismissed objections from people who were not supporting him as being hyperbolic. And of course, he won't do those things that he's talking about. He's just mouthing off. He's the crazy uncle at Thanksgiving. He actually doesn't believe in those things. And once he just wants to win. And once he wins, he's going to lower the price of eggs and make us all rich again. And life will be good in these United States, right? They ignored what was happening because it was convenient. They focused on a narrow issue, and now they messed around and found out that he wasn't the crazy uncle at Thanksgiving. He was the person who actually, to your point, was committed to taking the rights for LGBTQIA people in particular back to where they were before President Obama, right? What I think people also underestimated is even as much as Obama was beloved, where he turned some people off was how far he pushed some of the LGBTQIA stuff. Yeah. And so he appealed to that base. And I do think he awoke a fear. And the other thing is percentage wise, I think he chose that as if he was going to pick voting blocks to lose, he was willing to lose that block because it was small enough that he could still win. And he found out that he did. Now, for all those people getting deported, like their families getting deported, and the Black people who are like, oh no, I can't believe he ended DEI. I really shouldn't say anything about that, because if you can't say nice things, you shouldn't say anything at all.
All right. Jason, as the resident white guy on the panel, how do you view all of Trump's executive orders? I mean, do you feel like they're fair? Do you feel like they're necessary?
No. And Shaitan said it, and I said it too. I think he's leading from a position of fear, and that's what it is. And look, we are the first time around. We were no longer a United States of America. We became a divided States of America, and I think that Biden was hopefully going to unite us more together. And I thought I saw that coming, and then there was a whole debacle 6 months before the election, and we'll leave it at that because that was poorly handled. But I think this man is trying to cater to the upper echelon with regard to money and power, and who he can say, I'm friends with this one, and I'm taking care of these, and I'm doing that, and everybody's going to take care of me and take care of my family. And look, he did say, and JP Mills just put this in. So JP Mills, I'm going to quote from you. He was going to be a dictator from day one. And that has always been, when this man gets in office, he ain't leaving. And again, I do think he pulled the wool over some people's heads, and it's not going to be, his plan 25, and it's not going to be this and not going to be that. But look, we knew what we were getting. And if you voted for him, that's on you, right? You voted for him. You knew he wasn't going to change. We survived the first 4 years, and now we've just got to all put seatbelts on and
seatbelts on and hope for the best. I think that's the worst strategy ever. Anyway, I understand. Let's go to Josh. Let's go to some of these comments. Just Jonda says Trump is simply following the Project 2025 playbook. The power behind it that got him elected now requires him to follow through. SL says most folks don't know a trans person, so the unknown is feared. All right. Daniel Cameron said, poor Jason, he's got the invite to the cookout. Jason don't know nothing about these racist white people problems. Angela Jefferson says there's only less than 1% people that are transgender in the military. If they want to fight, let them fight for this country. He certainly sure wouldn't do it. He had 5 deferments. Oh, okay. Purposely Delicious says, good evening, Your Honor and Esquires. Good evening. And Sir Benjamin says, Trump hired a lot of Latinos at Trump Tower and the casinos. I think from that, they believe he wouldn't deport them. They were passively listening. I think you got a good point there. I am. Well, speaking of Trump, he's not only making headlines, but he's also ruining people's lives. Trump, instead of firing federal employees outright, Trump is now offering cash incentives for them to resign. He claims it's about government efficiency, but critics say it's a strategic purge of workers who don't align with his politics. If you work for the government and your job depended on your loyalty to Trump, would you be safe? Let's go to Jason Weiss on this one, because I want to hear what you have to say. Could this be considered, even though he's giving you a chance to cash out, isn't this still wrongful termination at its finest?
He's giving you the opportunity to cash out. And again, look, saying the perspective that's coming from him, right? You have the opportunity to not have to come back to work because most people still want to work from home. And one of the things that the federal government is trying to do is get people to come back in, which, you know, good, bad, indifferent, whatever it is. So they only expect between 5 and 10% of the federal workforce to quit. And they think that's going to lead to $100 billion in savings. And it's all full-time federal employees are eligible except for members of the military, employees of the U.S. Postal Service, and positions related to national security and immigration. We pay, as taxpayers, we pay these salaries. And if people don't want to go in and people don't want to work and they don't want to do all this and they want to find another job, then this is an opportunity for them to basically have a 8-month runway to go find another job. However, with all of that said, to push somebody out is wrong. You're a federal employee, you work for the government, and he should not be allowed to say, you know, goodbye, go. It's wrong. But my personal view is that, you know, people should be reporting back if they're working for the federal government, right? I mean, I've been on hold and I've been hearing people that, you know, work at various different government agencies and courts and the IRS and all this. And you can hear the kids in the background screaming and the dog barking. And well, shoot, I was already on hold with the IRS for an hour and a half. Now they got to put me on hold again to take care of something.
Well, listen, let me ask you this. Am I the only one that in our head, well, probably because I've lived in DC, I've worked in DC, the federal employees as it relates to African Americans, as it relates to Hispanic Americans, Hispanic employees in the federal government make up 80% of the civil workforce, right? 18.2% are made up of African Americans. These jobs are what's holding the economic power of those communities at the level that they are. They pay good job, they pay good money, they have great benefits. These families can afford homes. These families can afford to send their kids off to college. These families can afford to, you know, put money back into the economy. I don't know why I feel like this. I mean, I understand that it may have something to do with the deficit, but I also think it's his way of eroding the financial power of these two marginalized, underrepresented groups. And this is the easiest way to do it. Am I the only one that sees that?
But he didn't go in and actually say, you're fired like he used to do on his show, right? He's saying, hey, you don't want to report back to work? Then here's your option. And I understand that there's probably a hidden meaning to it. But at the same time, you could say, no, I want to continue to work. Cool, no problem. Right? It's not.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Did you read the memo?
Here we go.
Because the memo kind of said that, but it also said, by the way, when you come back to work here, you better be in the office, loyal. I love the loyal word, right? And basically, we have no guarantee that we're going to be able to keep your job anyway, because we're looking for ways to downsize around here. And it's basically the memo I saw. He was trying to encourage people to quit, and basically saying, "Hey, here's this eight."
Yeah, so he doesn't get caught up in a whole bunch of lawsuits,
right? But here's the problem he has: is that once again, it's total Trump stuff, and we gotta sort of calm down when Trump does this. He doesn't have the authority to do this. All right. It's called the voluntary severance package. You know, basically that's a congressional thing. Congress has limited that to $25,000. That's the maximum severance you can get. So he can't offer $8,000 by law, eight months by law. I'm sorry, he can say he's going to offer it, but you take it. If you're out there, federal government, Trump don't pay his bills. You know he don't pay his bills. You're not getting 8 months. All right.
That's
Trump will do that in a minute to you, right? You know, he does that all the time. He's proud of that. So he'll get all these people to quit thinking they're going to get 8 months. He doesn't do
they don't get
8 months, and they don't get it.
Those severance packages, ladies and gentlemen, and
get you a
hire
lawyer.
an attorney.
Yeah, if you don't get your money up front, if they don't hand you a check for 8 months, don't do it. Trump he's constantly doing that with all of his executive orders.
Don't take a check, only take ACH.
Yeah, really.
Attorney Turner, let me ask you this question because you deal with this type of stuff. What protection do federal employees have against political retaliation? This feels like political retaliation at its finest, if you ask me.
So federal, there's a portion of these workers who are unionized, and so they have to fall under the union contract. And then there's also the laws that are specific to federal employees that are at play as well. That's why, similar to how you saw with the grant and funding freezing that they were going to do.
Exactly.
And then, well, there was a memo. You should read it, but it doesn't matter because after the lawyers challenged it, they said, "Oh, we're just playing." But the thing is that they're trying to test the waters, as my dad would say. So he was trying to see if he said he was going to put a temporary pause on the spending because they couldn't do a permanent one because that's prohibited by Congress. If he would get away with it. And then when he found out that he was going to get sued, then they're like, oh, somebody went into a room and did the math on the litigation. And they're like, well, if you're trying to say you're trying to save money and that's why you're giving these severance packages, you can't very well invite this expensive litigation that will likely lose. So they backed away from it. He did a Trump thing and said, you know, the only thing that was rescinded was the memo, but my executive order still stands, but people will still get their funding. So there's nothing to see here. Similar with the severance, it is, hey, here's this carrot, you know, will you take it? And then for everyone who takes it, now they've signed something and then they get fired. And then when they don't get the money, then it's up to them to challenge it. And so now they have legal bills because they didn't get everything they're supposed to get. But
and they ain't got no job.
Right. And he's already accomplished his goal.
And no money.
They're gone. So I think that it'll be interesting to see how the smoke and mirrors plan plays out. But I actually, probably because one of my areas of like independent research and what I write about in my blog are the inequities between men and women in the workforce. What I saw when I read what he was trying to do about bringing everybody back from remote work and the loyalty requirement, whatever that is, was that he was trying to make America great again and have men work and not women. Because one of the things that they've shown since the pandemic, when remote work became more popular, is that it retained a lot more women in the workforce who would have had to leave for childcare responsibilities. So now that everybody has to show up and they can't meet the bus, because if you live in Germantown and you work in DC and you have to be in DC, now all of a sudden you're having to leave your job at 2:00 or 1:00 in order to make the 3:00 bus, right? That's just totally impractical. So I really think it's designed to do what J.D. Vance said during the campaign, which is to get your kids taken care of by the women, right? The mother. There's nothing better than a mother's love, right? That's what this is all about. You reduce the number of women, you give it to men, forget about the single parents, right? Forget about those single moms, right? They'd have nobody else to share the bills with, but that doesn't matter, right? We'll just make their life hard. So as you can tell, I'm kind of disgusted about the whole thing. Yeah, and I'm just waiting to see what's going to play out. I think that you'll still see at the end of how it shakes, you'll still see a high percentage of people of color working for the federal government, because unlike a lot of folk, except for those poor Jews, they can't afford to quit their jobs, right? And so they can still be there. Sorry, Attorney Weiss.
And by the way,
I'm a male. I'm white.
Yeah, you're white.
I'm going home. That's it. I'm taking my
Welcome to work. Welcome to work, Attorney Weiss. Now you know how we feel.
Yeah. Well, and here's another thing, that the irony of it to me is that every time Trump comes out with one of these things, our initial reaction is, oh my God, he's screwing the black people. And that's definitely part of what he wants to do. But collaterally, he's screwing a lot of white folks too. I just looked at the demographics for the federal workforce. It seems like, because we know a lot of black people, 60% of the federal workforce is white.
Right.
And that excludes the military. All right. Only 19% of it is black, which is a lot higher than the civilian workforce for sure. Okay. With regard to Latinos, only 10%. Men are 55% of the federal workforce, excluding the military. So a lot of these things that we think are not, or going after black and brown people, they are, but a lot of white people can get caught up. A lot of white men can get caught up in this, collateral damage. And I love the fact that they don't seem to figure it out, right? They're sitting there like, oh, I don't want those people to get the SNAP benefits. I'm like, who do you think is getting the SNAP? 60% of you people are getting the SNAP.
Right, exactly. Tina Twine says, former Governor Tim Kaine from Virginia posted a video to federal workers: don't accept the voluntary severance package and fall for the okie doke. Okay, that's good to know. Sonny Clark said, all I know is I would pay to be a fly on the wall in the bedroom of Melania and Agent Orange.
Well, I wouldn't want to see
I
that.
wouldn't even think that they're in the same bedroom, to be honest.
And then going on in their bedroom.
Wait, did you guys see the meme? So she had that hat on for the inauguration,
Right.
and it said, dress for the job you want. And then it had in parentheses, widow.
Well, she looked like the Hamburglar. I don't know what she was dressed for, but
Number 10 said, I would take any class Shaitan taught. I understand things when she speak. Me too. She actually is very good at it. I can see why you'd be a great law school professor. Ruth Qutant, Melania doesn't even like Trump like that. Her face always says such disdain and disgust on it. But I think she loves the money. You might be on to something. Let's see. One more. Sonny Clark said, no, we read that one all right.
Is she afraid of being deported?
No, you remember they did a whole opt-in on her citizenship. And
But if they got divorced, she'd be out.
really?
now
No, I think she got a certain type of, we've reported that on this show before. She got a certain type of citizenship based on being a model.
But she came in illegally, I thought. And then I thought that she got the proper visa. That's what I thought. But I have to, we should do that on another show. Immigration and Trump's family. Yeah. What was Ivana on?
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, everybody, come on now. The likes just aren't liking. A lot of you are in here tonight, but you have not hit that like button. Please hit that like button, especially if you like what we're sharing with you. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, be sure to hit the share button. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and as always, keep the questions going. Now, this next one is super concerning to me. Let's talk about the legal scam of the century. Now, this is a scam of all scams. Capital One, everybody, and I know you have one of their cards because I do, is being sued for allegedly stealing billions from its customers by hiding fees, misleading borrowers, and using deceptive banking tactics. Banks like to say they help people manage their money, but who's managing their greed? This lawsuit could force Capital One to refund millions to customers. But will they actually be held accountable, or will they cut a quick check and turn the page? All right, Attorney Weiss, tell me right now, what is going over at Capital One, and what type of legal penalties could Capital One potentially face with this?
So Capital One, if they are found to have done this, they could be facing tremendous legal and financial repercussions. My understanding is that they were promoting this 360 savings account, offering the best and highest interest rates and all of this, but they had interest rates that were really, really low. Like even in 2019 and all of that, it was like, I want to say like 0.3%. And then they gave higher interest rates and they gave all this, but basically what they were doing is stealing people's interest. Telling them you got these no interest fees and these accounts and they're going to help you and all of this. Now, the interesting thing is that Capital One has expressed strong disagreement with the allegations, saying that it's disappointed by the lawsuit and plans to vigorously defend itself in court. Now, I am certain some sort of deal is going to be struck with this, because they're not going to want to go ahead and, have to pay Jennifer Gardner to do more commercials for her Capital One card. And I think Samuel Jackson does Capital One.
He does one too.
So it's across the board, but look, they're going to fight it.
How are you able to steal billions of dollars from millions of customers, and you get a slap on your hand and say, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do it. It's a mix-up." How does that happen?
Look at the housing market. Look what the banks were doing. Look at what all of these banks were doing. Nobody should be trusting banks, based on everything that they want. Look, they stole billions. It was an interest-free loan to them, and they'll go ahead and they'll start paying, people back, and they'll start doing this, and people will get 10 or 15 cents on the dollar, and they'll be happy they got a payday, and they're going to forget the whole thing. It's
exactly. And specifically, I found it kind of fascinating, because what they did exactly was, and Jason's absolutely right, At the big 2019, interest rates were really low, 0.3%. They signed their people in these 360 savings accounts that gave them 3%. Interest rates started going up after that. And now they got up to about 4%. They didn't want those people to convert to the new plans. So they named the plans that paid a lot almost the same thing. They called it the 360 performance savings. And so when you looked on the website, your statement, you thought, oh, you already had that plan, right? They wouldn't send out the emails that told people about these new interest rates to people who had the low interest rates. Now, as far as the real sad thing is, they owe about $2 billion, which sounds like a lot of money, but it's nothing to a bank, to hundreds of thousands of customers, right? Millions of customers, actually. The interesting thing, though, is that in the law, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau could charge them $5,000 per person, which would be tens of billions of dollars and is a lot more than the $15 check you're going to get. Because think about it, I don't know what your average bank balance is and your savings or whatever, but it's probably not a lot, all right? It's probably not tens of thousands of dollars of interest every year, right? No. It's, $100, $200, and that would be on a large amount of decent amount of money. So they're going to be paying these small checks to people, 15, 20, et cetera, versus the $5,000 penalties they should have. And that's assuming they paid it all, because guess who's president now? Yeah, I would imagine that the CEO of Chase was very smart and made a nice, handsome contribution to Trump beforehand. And Trump's whole thing is, well, we're going to get rid of regulation. They want to get rid of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau totally, because guess who started that? That was Elizabeth Warren's baby. All right. I know he doesn't like her. All right. And so the fact, if the current administration follows through with this, I'll be surprised. If I'm Chase's lawyers, I'm filing continuance, delay, and wait for the new people to come in and completely ruin this. So I don't think we're getting our $2 billion. I hate to tell you, algorithms, you're probably not getting your $14.
No, they might get their $14, but that's about all they're going to get, and they're going to get it.
That Trump will allow his buddies to
they'll get it in 6 years, like you said. Nothing's coming in 4 years. They're going to continue to sit on that money, make more interest on that money to pay this back. And yeah, they'll pay it back $14, $15, $20 a head in 6 years.
That's insane. Danielle Cameron said, my mattress ain't never taken a dime. Grandpa was right.
Wait,
Toria Williams says, see why people don't put their money in these banks. My Nana asked, my granny always kept her money home. Get you a fireproof safe. Keep your money home with you. That's what it's.
Well, you missed.
Well, don't get me wrong. They didn't. Think about it. They gave people their money back. All right. It's not like they stole the money from their account. They just didn't give them the interest. And you're safe. You're safe, and give you no interest. So your 0.3% is probably better than the safe.
What did you say?
But here's the other. Oh, sorry.
She said, "What's in your wallet? Other people's money."
and look,
oh yeah, I see that one now.
And they don't come out and they don't tell you this thing. Look, when after my dad passed, I went to the bank with my mom to move money over and to close out accounts, and they're looking and they're like, "Oh, you've had this money in this low interest account. Well, if you keep it here, we'll take the 0.3% of interest that you're getting and we'll bump you to 5.5%. So what did my mom? She's like, "I'm not leaving the bank now. I'm keeping my money here." Mom, they stole money from you for the past 5 years at this low interest rate. Now they want to give you this for 6 months. So, you know what we did? We let the money sit for 6 months, and 6 months in a day, moved it on out.
Moved it on out.
I got to tell you, I'm not a Capital One fan. It's not in my wallet. But let's be clear, people. Don't keep your money in your house. All right, that's ignorant. All right, this is one of the thing I'm so much proud of. I can almost tell you my address here. Come to my house. You ain't getting nothing. All my money is in the bank. All right. You can get a couple computers, a big screen TV. If you can get it, and maybe if you can get my pool, you can go ahead and take that out too. All right. It's in ground, so you need to bring a truck or something. But I'm not keeping any money in the house. Don't keep money in the house. That's it. You get robbed that way.
You know what? All this illegal action from these banks, you know what it gives me? It gives me that they're premeditated. And they just are going to see how far they can get. And if they get caught, what's really going to happen? We're going to get slapped on the hand. We're going to pay a little bit of a fine, but we're going to have made all this money. We're going to be able to get through these rocky times where we don't have to report that we're losing money as a bank, et cetera, to keep our stock value up. And then when they get caught, what do they say? Oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. We'll pay you back if we have to.
Yeah.
And look, it's a risk. They take the risk, right? And I forget which car it was, but there was a car, and I'm sure we all know it, but it was a car that if it got hit on a certain spot, that either Ford or but they knew it. There was a car that if it got hit, it would explode.
The Pinto.
Thank you. The Ford Pinto. And what they did was they made a calculated thing to recall it and spend millions and trillions and billions of dollars, or to let it ride and to pay out on the 7 cars it's going to happen to. And guess what? They let it ride. And that's what our society is. We'll let it ride till we get caught, and then we'll negotiate.
Well, speaking of let it ride,
the only time it's good. It happened with Firestone Tires more recently. Remember those case?
Yep.
And it was the same thing. And they found that they had hired some consultants who had said that it was cheaper to allow the tires to be on the road and to take the risk of whatever accidents that happen. So there's a bunch of cases in like the MBA textbooks that describe our lack of morality as it relates to business. And if you look at the theories that business schools teach as well, like ethics is a different course. Like, so it's not embedded into everything you do. Like in economics, it's all about supply and demand. It's all about return on investment and accounting, assets and liabilities. But then you go to this separate class that says, hey, if you care about being ethical, here's some things we can teach you. And it's probably a mistake. And it's
because those greedy people that are trying to find the profit, they're not listening in that class. They're taking it because it's mandatory. They'll do whatever the teacher says. They're not really listening.
That Ford Pinto case from the 1970s is the case. They thought it would be less expensive to just pay out the victims and pay out the families and to recall. And guess what? Do you know how many people were criminally charged for that? I'll give you a hint. It sounds like zero.
But we do know about that case because of a huge punitive damage award, right? So they tried to make it pay.
Yes.
They have that in the financial regulations in the sense that $5,000 per violation is a lot of money. You know how much money you'd have to have in the bank to earn $5,000 in interest at $4,000, right? At 4% interest?
More than you got at your house.
Right. Yeah, more than I got at my house for sure, right? It's millions of dollars. So the point is, that's the way they're supposed to be able to account for this, is by charging them. I looked it up. There are 98 million accounts, all right, that were subject to a data breach from Capital One. So do that by 5,000. I can't do the math because I'm American.
Well, this is the deal. I used to work on Wall Street, and believe me, when bankers come up with these type of tactics, they're actually rewarded and they are actually applauded because they made the bank so much money. Now, they would rather make the money first and deal with the fallout second. All right, speaking of fallout, now this is a doozy. This probably might be the wildest case that we've ever covered. And I swear to goodness, I don't know how it ended up on my docket. A new indecency law has been proposed, and the wording is so vague that critics say it could literally criminalize getting an erection in public. Oh, God, I'm going to jail. So, is this a law designed for public decency, or is it just legal nonsense waiting to be thrown out? Let's go to our legal erection specialist, Attorney Siobhan Turner. Can this law, can it actually be enforced? Because, there are certain things with a man's body that we just can't control.
So, Your Honor, I mean, that I don't suffer from that particular problem, but if you're constantly getting erections in public, you might want to get that checked out. I thought that was something that got corrected after high school, but not when the wind blows. But yeah, this law is interesting. So it's been called the erection ban because it's sexy, right? And it invites all of these. I'm sure it's going to be on Saturday Night Live, right, where they're going to be talking about the humor associated with it. But this is actually a law that's designed to address the concept that's been bantered about in abortion cases, which is conception begins at
with the erection.
No. So this is supposed to be an equity law. It was promoted by Democrats. And in pregnancy, and when they talk about abortion, you've heard this, the reason they want to outlaw abortion is because conception begins at fertilization. And so they're saying you don't have to, that there's no point in time when it's permissible to intervene to end a pregnancy, because that's when life begins. Well, somebody got cute. And they said, you're going after the women, you're trying to police their bodies, we're going to police the men. But the problem is, y'all don't really do a whole lot in the whole conception analysis. You show up for maybe 5 to 15 minutes. You do a few
I beg your pardon.
5 to 15? I ain't got that kind of time, girl. I ain't got that kind of time.
In the court. I clearly can go 16 minutes.
But yeah, so you show up, you make your deposit, and then it fertilizes the egg and people get pregnant. So this law is designed to say it criminalizes discharging genetic material without the intent to fertilize an embryo. So you can't be out there masturbating. You can't be out there shooting your shot all over town. And it reminded me of Legally Blonde and a case that they talked about in the first one. And Elle Wood said, and I thought it was funny at the time, and here we go trying to create a law about it, any masturbatory admissions where the sperm is clearly not seeking an egg could be termed reckless abandonment, right? So
that's insane.
That's
insane.
So for all the men listening, just carry around one of those sample cups wherever you go and just say that you're on your way to the clinic.
Yeah.
Or,
Listen, you could tell you've been married for 20 years. Nobody got time to be carrying around a cup.
Well, no,
nobody got time to be carrying around no daggone cup.
But yes, he's right. They made an exception for sperm banks and for so you can't make these emissions unless, and there's some exceptions, and one of them if you're going to make a deposit at a sperm bank. So he is not wrong. If you want to avoid jail time in the orange suit, you just carry around the little cup. It's got a little screw top. I'm not sure what your aim is like if you're getting that many erections in public, but
you could probably make $20 a shot too. So
I am done.
Yeah. And by the way,
it's better to do than monitor erections. Is this what we've gotten to in America?
No, it's not about the erection. It's about the end product. All right, so don't worry, Your Honor. You can get a boner everywhere you want. All right, enjoy yourself. All right, enjoy yourself. But it just means you got to keep it in. Literally keep it inside. I got to tell you how ridiculous this law is. And by the way, the Democrat who proposed it, he's being facetious. He's trying to make the point that you shouldn't put all the penalties on women, right, for pregnancy. So he's saying, hey, we'll put it on men, right? Obviously, this law isn't meant to be serious, because what happens, you can't ever have what would be the word for it? A moment, a release, unless you're trying to get somebody pregnant. What if you're married to somebody old? Hypothetically,
you could still try.
If you release it inside the uterus,
only you, Attorney Carter. Only you.
Presume that you're trying to be pregnant.
Everybody in the nursing home would go straight to jail.
Nursing home, shit. We got grown people in this house. We got people in this house who wear a slip. Put it that way, all right? If you wear a slip, you can't get pregnant. That's the rule, right? So how am I going to work on that?
But I do think.
But that's only on Saturday nights that you wear the slip, right?
Yeah, when you're trying to communicate a message, Attorney Weiss, like, hey. But no, I do think they're on to something. I do, because
what could they be on to?
Well, if you think about it literally, right? What they're saying for the women is that you are potentially criminalized as soon as you open your legs and allow someone to come inside of you, right? Because it's all about conception occurs at fertilization, and therefore you're stuck with whatever the product is of that sexual act as a woman, right? And so what they're saying is, hey, men, if you're around there doing things and you don't intend to get anybody pregnant, then you are a criminal. And what they're really saying, to Attorney Carter's point, remember, this is Mississippi. This is the deep South, right? This is the Bible Belt, if there's ever been a Bible Belt. Basically, what they're trying to do is criminalize fornication.
Why? Do you not
Fornication
know? Do you not know if the worst group of people to try to manage are horny people? If you don't let us get off our get off, you're going to have more problems in society than you've ever had, than you've ever seen. Can
All
you
those high
imagine?
school
Let me tell you
teachers.
something. And I'm going to be honest here. Let a woman get horny and not get her needs. The whole house doesn't eat. Okay, she's not cooking. I'm telling you, you want to see some laws change? Have people sexually frustrated.
Well, you know what? We were just talking about some laws we don't like. So maybe the solution is to get everybody hard up. And then they'll be marching in the street. And all of those things, all those things we were just talking about that are coming out from the federal level, that's when change will come. You know that old song from the 60s marches, change is coming. Yeah.
You know what? That's a good plan.
As long as it ain't in Mississippi.
What is the benefit of having a whole bunch of horny people walking around in America or in Mississippi?
It's called high school.
Huh?
It's called high school and college.
You can have as much sex as you want. You just have to be committed to the outcome. That's what this law is about.
To
the outcome or to the never mind.
Brandy Gardner says Jason has solutions. Dorian Hammer says the quality of life, the saving on gas, working from home research shows that Keita 75, unfortunately, you all are talking about my state of Mississippi. Keita, are you in Mississippi? Are you horny?
Be careful.
Dorian Hammer says you guys make law interesting and hilarious. Venetia Phillips says, I've been on a break, haven't had sex in 5 years. I'm good, don't want it. This horny world is ridiculous. Wow. This is really interesting. All right, everybody, as we rotate into the last case of the evening, ASAP Rocky. Woo! Now we know why Rihanna showed up in court today. It's going in the wrong direction, ASAP. ASAP Rocky is no stranger to controversy, but this time his freedom is on the line. He's accused of pulling a gun on a former associate and firing at him during a 2021 altercation in Hollywood. Now, witnesses are taking a stand, and they're claiming they saw him make threats as well as pull the trigger. Yes, you heard me correctly. People are taking a stand saying that they saw him make threats and pull the trigger. And let's not forget, Rihanna's name keeps getting dragged into this mess. While she's not involved, the media circus surrounding her relationship with Rocky is adding fuel to the fire. So is this a wrongful accusation, or is ASAP Rocky about to become another celebrity who can't escape his past? Bailiff, let's see the evidence.
And then that's when Elijah was like in between, and he's like, I'll kill you right now, pussy, or like whatever, like just was. And then I'm right behind Elijah, and I'm saying, if you brought a gun, use it then. Like, the fuck you brought a gun for, pussy? That's the words I was saying to him.
When you said he pointed it at you, where on your body was it pointing?
Like towards my stomach, like towards like my headish a little. Like everything was happening so fast. So fast. You know what I mean?
And from what you're describing, was it moving?
Yeah, it was moving. He had it up.
Okay, so he didn't just hold it at your stomach. It was kind of
no. He was looking for a spot to shoot.
Okay.
Like if Elijah wasn't there, I don't know what would have happened.
And you said as he was pointing it at you, what did he say?
I'll kill you right now.
And was that in an angry tone?
Yeah, he was livid.
Was his voice elevated? Like, was he yelling this at you, or was this something he was saying quiet?
Yeah, because we was yelling back and forth at this point.
All right. And you said that after he pointed the gun at you, you became angry, correct?
Yeah, I became furious.
So what did you say back to him?
I told him to use it.
Why?
Because mentally, like, I couldn't believe he just pulled the gun out on me. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you better use that shit. The fuck you got a gun for?
Can you explain?
All right, I'm gonna go to you, Attorney Turner, right here. Let me ask these two questions. How strong? Because came across as very credible to me. How strong is this eyewitness testimony in this case? And second, could ASAP Rocky face prison time even if no one was injured?
So the credibility of the witness is going to be determined by, the judge and the jury. He sounded credible to me too, as you indicated. He didn't testify. His demeanor didn't suggest that he had an agenda. We're only listening to a clip, though. There will be an opportunity for cross-examination, and so that will be fleshed out. What I thought was, what just breaks me heart about the whole thing is you hope, right, that if you make money, you don't have poor people problems. And so seeing Rihanna in the courtroom watching her man on trial for this crime,
a billionaire,
considering everything that she's accomplished, this is on the list of like poor people's problems. Like she got to stand by her baby daddy because he's under these charges. So that's the part that breaks my heart. That being said, the other thing that makes me uncomfortable about this, because this is the second time we've talked about this case, is he decided to reject the plea deal that he was given by the prosecutor. I thought it was because he had an airtight case. It does not seem that way to me. So I'm not sure what kind of advice that he got from counsel about why he should reject that deal. There must be some aspect of this that we're not appreciating right now, or he just got really bad counsel. But to answer your question, yes, he stands going to prison because the actions are the same as they were when he was offered the plea deal. He just rejected the plea deal, and now he's at the mercy of the court.
Attorney Carter, how bad is this really?
Not as bad as I thought. And here's why. What we did not show was that the only other witness, so that's ASAP Relly, the victim, all right, ASAP's buddy who supposedly shot. The next witness was, Sergeant Thomas Zizzo. Some of you recognize the name Zizzo. His mom is on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. But aside from that, he testified that when he got to the scene, he didn't see any shell casings anywhere. And remember, ASAP Rocky's claim is that he was using a pop gun or prop gun and not an actual gun. So in that case, if he actually had not shot, remember, he's been charged with 2 counts of assault with a semi-automatic weapon. If it's not if it's a water pistol, all right, or a prop gun, those charges don't even apply anymore.
Right, but no. I think we found the shell casings, right? I think
his thing is, remember, the victim says he came back the next day and found the shell casings. That might be that's going to be a little less credible than the idea if the police had come and found them. And so, he's got a shot. Remember, we talk about this. He doesn't need
I don't buy this prop gun. I don't buy this prop gun thing.
You don't have to. Only one of the 12 jurors needs to. Only one of the 12 jurors needs to look at that pretty man and say, as to look at Riri and say, as Attorney Turner was saying, I don't want her baby daddy to go to jail. I love me some Riri. All right. 1 out of 12. That's
but listen, didn't we find out that none of the jury members are African American?
We did learn that in the so this must be the third time we talked about it. Yeah, that was reported that
black people ain't buying all that Fenty. All right, and white women run around Fenty draws too. All right, everybody love Riri.
That's true. She didn't become a billionaire just on black women.
Exactly. Some of my wife draws. I tell you that because my wife wears slip.
We are still seeking pay equity. Anybody who's listening, even in this current time, black women still want to get paid. Speaking of which, Your Honor, let's talk after the show.
Oh, of course, we all got pay equity on this show right here, baby. We all get paid the same.
So the one thing we cannot forget is he's still nominated for Best Music Video at Sunday's Grammy Awards. Very curious to see if he's going to be there, who he's going to be with. And he's also scheduled to play at Rolling Loud in California in March. And we will have to see what happens there.
I wouldn't recommend that they walk the carpet at all. This just would not be a good look that you're
nice orange outfit.
Yeah. You're on
matching.
trial and you walking the red carpet. That just wouldn't be a good look. All right, everybody. This is a part of the show.
President Trump, we need a pardon. That's what we need.
He can pardon him?
No.
No.
State charge.
That's a state charge.
He can do what he wants.
He could write an executive order. It just would be invalid, just like all of his other ones.
Okay. So my second question was, could he still go to jail? Could he still go to jail even though no one was hurt? And can someone address the gun laws in California and why he can still go to jail?
Oh yeah, you can go to jail. He got them assault with a weapon. So if you shoot at someone, in fact, if you actually brandish it, point it at someone, you've got a problem. You don't have to shoot anybody to go to jail if you're using a firearm.
Yeah, ask Tory Lanez.
Now imagine if he had an erection while he was doing that.
But yeah, it's Attorney Carter.
I told you he can have an erection as long as he doesn't go pew pew. He's fine.
2 discharges at one time.
What in the world is a pew pew?
Discharge.
That's what they say on social media, so you don't say like shooting and you avoid getting like the penalties against you for saying
Yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly.
But to Attorney Carter's point, that's the beauty of this prop gun argument. That's why he's arguing for the prop gun, because if it's not assault with a deadly weapon, if you don't have a deadly weapon. So he's saying it wasn't real. So that's the whole crux of how I think his defense plans to get rid of this. Whether or not they can prove it, I don't know.
So which one of some Euro rappers carry prop guns around?
That's the question I wanted to ask exactly. And the algorithms know, does he lose some street cred? If I found out you got a water gun and you run around with an airsoft pistol, right? I don't know, your next song is gonna be wild.
Well, he said, I think that he indicated that he had the fake gun because of
Rihanna's photo shoot.
Yes. And so it's kind of like the opposite of the Alec Baldwin argument. Alec thought it was fake, but it ended up being real and someone died. ASAP saying he was on set and he had this and he was pissed off and he was just going like this. But yeah, when he's out there in these streets, at least before, I think he would say he always had a real gun.
All right, everybody, this is a part of the show that we give our verdict, the lawyers as well as you, the jury. First up, the prosecutor in the Ahmaud Arbery case, is she guilty or not guilty of trying to cover up Ahmaud Arbery's death? Attorney Weiss, what say you?
Guilty.
Carter?
Guilty.
Turner?
Guilty.
All right, I'm Alan. I'm the judge here in Celebrity Corner. We're going to find that prosecutor guilty. Guilty is charged. Next up, Donald Trump. Is he guilty or not guilty of throwing all the trans people or trying to get them all banned from serving in the military or armed services? Attorney Weiss?
Guilty.
Attorney Carter?
He is going to be unsuccessfully guilty. He's going to try, not going to work.
Attorney Turner?
I agree with Attorney Carter.
All right, I'm Al, and I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. And we're going to find Trump, what? Guilty. Guilty is charged. All right, Trump back again. The government buyout. Is Trump guilty of trying to use illegal strategies and tactics to get people to retire or to leave the government? Is he guilty or not guilty, Attorney Weiss?
He is guilty of trying to take that proverbial bag and fling it up against the wall to see what sticks. And guilty, just like Toria Williams said, guilty, 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 guilty.
Attorney Tarter?
Absolutely guilty. Don't you be guilty of taking a promise from Trump. Make sure you get your money up front if you decide to leave.
All right, get a lawyer, guys. Get a lawyer. Attorney Turner?
He's guilty of creative budget balancing tactics.
All right, I'm Alan. I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. We're going to find Trump. What? Guilty. Guilty again. Second up, Capital One. Are they guilty or not guilty of stealing our money? Attorney Weiss?
What's in your wallet? That's all I got to say. What's in my wallet is not my money. Capital One has my money.
Attorney Carter?
They're guilty.
Attorney Turner?
Guilty as hell.
Yeah, I'm Alan. I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court. Capital One, report to jail. You are guilty. Guilty of stealing our money. banks every 5 years steal our money and we act like we don't understand how or why it happened. Maybe we're guilty for being dumb and letting them have our money. All right, next up, the erection ban. Oh, Lord, what do we even say about this? The law writer. Is he guilty or not guilty of not being able to get an erection, so he wants it banned? Attorney Weiss?
I think the law writer was guilty of trying to prove a point. And listening to Attorney Carter in chambers, I think he hit the nail on the head. So I think this is a guilty ploy to get people to open up their eyes to things.
Attorney Carter?
Yeah, he guilty of ruining a bunch of marriages. What he gonna do? 'Cause we ain't having no babies in here. We babies are done, but we still gonna do it, right, baby? Hopefully.
Because Attorney Carter's a stand-up guy.
I might not after this.
Attorney Turner?
Well, first I want to say women love erections. We just don't love people trying to control our bodies. So this law writer is guilty of trying to open people's eyes, as Attorney Weiss said, and I'm here for it. But let's fight for the erection because they can be kind of fun.
You're going straight to hell. Oh, court. I'm Alan. I'm the judge here at Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. And I'm going to tell you what it's making me guilty of. It's making me scared. This law writer's got me scared. This law writer is guilty of ridiculousness. Guilty of ridiculousness. Last but not least is ASAP Rocky. Ooh, is this more serious than he thought? What is he guilty or not guilty? What's it looking like in public opinion? What say you, Attorney Weiss?
In public opinion, I'm not sure. And at this point, I think he has to worry more about what the jury's opinion is going to be. But I do want to agree with Attorney Carter. And I have a feeling he's going to sway at least one person to say not guilty and he'll be okay. All
right, Attorney Carter.
Yeah. Attorney Weiss said it better than I could. As long as you got a scintilla of a doubt and Riri sitting there looking good on your side, you only have to have a lot of doubt. More Riri than doubt, he's fine. As long as she keeps showing up every day and handing out free samples to the jury, he'll be fine.
Attorney Turner.
I agree with my esteemed colleague.
Just no erections in the courtroom, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm Al Reynolds, and I'm the judge here at Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. And I'm going to find ASAP Rocky, after seeing that testimony, guilty in public opinion. I can't wait to see what the defense is going to say. I mean, we're going to see as this builds out. I'm hoping they really got something up their sleeve. But for me, it's just not looking good. And it's also really putting a stain in my head around, because I really thought that they were like the ultimate cutest couple, future Beyonce kind of Jay-Z vibes, that they were really influencing the culture. She was a billionaire, but this is starting to look shaky now. I don't know. This is interesting.
Really, you didn't think the two babies and the baby mama, baby daddy thing wasn't shaky, huh? That nobody got married to nobody. That wasn't shaky. It was just that.
Well, nowadays you don't have to, right? Nowadays you don't have to.
I
mean, nobody should talk about that. He probably is a good idea.
Get married. She was like, "You ain't getting half, but I'll have a baby or two for you. I'll have a baby or two for you."
Oh, they have prenups.
Well, listen, she definitely put the babies out. Well, she has two now.
Yeah, they make pretty babies. I do. Somebody said in the comments that she's too rich for this ghetto stuff. That's just what it screams to me. It just bothers me to my core that they're caught up in this. It's like he could have stayed in that little house in Barbados I saw when I was there and found like Pookie and had some ish like this happen. Like, it's unfortunate.
I'll tell you this though. If you know the real Riri, that girl don't mess around. I think she got a little ghetto in her too. So this might be like right up her alley, but she just happens to be a millionaire ghetto. Hey, do y'all remember when she used to be on Twitter and she would curse you out? She would lay you out. I mean, she did not hold her tongue for nobody. But anyway, all right, everybody. Tonight's docket wasn't just about the law. It was about power, privilege, and who gets to walk away unscathed. from a prosecutor accused of protecting murderers to a former president defending another controversial policy, and a banking giant caught with its hands in our pockets. One thing is clear: justice is not a one-size-fits-all. So let's take it to you. Is the legal system actually working, or is it just working for the rich and powerful? Let us know what you think, algorithms, by #CelebrityCourt. Until next time, stay informed, stay vocal, and remember, justice isn't just a courtroom decision, it's a fight. See you next time. Court is now adjourned.
Yeah.